Well, let me just run this by you. We're going to have the request of MTN, convening of the MTN Heroes of Change Grand Finale will be taking place at the Accra International Conference Center. You can see me having the tickets right here. This is what we're going to do on the show. We're going to open the phone lines subsequently, not now, later part of the show. And you call in, and we're giving 4 tickets out. To anybody who would want to go, just 4 of them. We'll just ask you 1 or 2 other questions. Even if you don't get to answer, don't worry. We have a number of people who are working for humanity, who are a part of all this initiative. It's the 4th season in a row for the Heroes of Change, and MTN Heroes of Change tend to recognize people who are changing the face of humanity, but also sowing into the lives of many people. Well, MTN, everywhere you go. Of course, this is strictly by invitation. So I'll run that by you, how that is all going to run out. But in the meantime, though, let me just introduce my guests for the morning. I have Daniel Ochema-Boaji, Member of Parliament for Bantama. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Willa.
Yeah, great. Certified accountant, America. Yes. It's America.
We are both certified.
Yes, I know. And Isaac Adongo. Today we decided to bring the finance people into the studio. Member of Parliament for Bolga Central. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's always good to have you, especially when the debate is ongoing about a number of things. We want to create a cashless society, economy. We're told that now the economy is back on track with rising cocoa prices and oil peaking as far as production is. And we have a projected GDP of some 7%, so we'll talk about the clashes also internally between police personnel, military personnel. We'll talk about that. But Daniel Ochema-Boaji, you've been in the news since the beginning of the week. You've been fighting your chairman over a property. We feature the story. Just tell me a bit about it. What really will have precipitated all that? You're on radio, TV, talking about it.
Well, let me just say good morning to our listeners and those who are viewing it from the house, and to also send my greetings to the chairman. Chairman Wontumi is my friend. We don't have personal issues. This is just basically a test of the law. There was this sale of property that was auctioned. You know, it was I think Noble Dream's property, or the guy, the owner of Noble Dream.
And if you say auction by the court?
By the court.
Okay.
So I became the highest bidder. I got the certificate of title. I was challenged. They put injunction in front of me for almost 15 months. I went to court. You know, while we were in court, Chairman went to me, trespass on the property and begins to develop it. I sent several warnings to our leadership, including the chief of staff, and they advised me to go to court, and we went to court. And the guy who sold the property to what do you call it? Chamawuntu, according to that guy, that the property is for him personally, not for the company. But the issue is whether it is for you or for the company is irrelevant. Because if you look at basic company law, lifting the veil.
Yes.
If you mismanage a company, and ultimately
it's liquidated. It goes into administration. Exactly. At the end of the day, they have to lift the corporate veil of the shareholders, the directors, etc.
And then I see in this morning's paper that he said he sold the property to Chairman Wontumi in 2014. There has been about 7 different rulings, applications, and motions on the case that has been ruled by the court. And guess what? Even as of July, even the one that was battling with this guy, Ezekiel, it was Ezekiel who was in court. So Chairman Wontumi, where are you? Where were you when Ezekiel was trying to claim ownership in 2016?
Well, there are concerns that what is ongoing is creating wranglings in the party.
Oh, really speaking, Chairman Wontumi we are not enemies. Honestly speaking, I respect him.
It's just a pure legal issue.
It's a pure legal issue, and I think even the leadership telling me to go to court was the right thing for them to say, because they're not going to take the law into their hands. And so let's leave it to the law, and except that some of us who believe in the rule of law, we are not going to create political monsters to muzzle people that are supposed to respect the law. So that's basically what's happening. There isn't much problem, When we went to the house to possess the property, even though he restrained us, we went to the bailiff and the police, he restrained us. Guess what happened? When I went, he gave me water. He served us water in the house for us to drink. Yes.
Safe water.
Yes, safe. So I think we should leave this to the law. And
all right, so we'll leave it to the law. I just wanted to have an insight into what really was happening. That's okay. Yes. But let's move into the discussions. And we know that there was an impasse between the military and the police that turned bloody. People were wounded. Personnel were wounded in Tamale, we're told. And it's on the front page. We have an insight into it. We'll bring you up to speed with the latest we have on it. We'll be speaking to Hashmi Mohammed, our correspondent in Tamale, and try to get the latest as far as Matina. Military and police personnel on Wednesday clashed again in the Tamale metropolis. And we're told that this incident is two in just within a month or two. We should be worried about it.
Extremely worried. Because the roles of these two bodies are quite clear. The police is supposed to provide internal security. The military is to protect the territorial integrity of this country. And so these are the two entities that protect you and I. And if members of these two critical bodies are themselves fighting themselves and injuring themselves and putting everybody else's life in danger, that is a very, very serious matter, because there's a lot of solidarity among these groups of people. The police people have solidarity with each other, the military have solidarity with each other, and you don't want a situation where we develop this into a police-military rivalry, because don't forget that in some instances we have had to bring these two forces together to deal with national crisis. And that is the reason why you want to see a lot more collaboration, a lot more understanding, and a lot more respect among these forces. So when you begin to see them clash the way it has happened, then we should be worried. I feel that the national security, the Ministry of Interior, and the Ministry of Defense should quickly rally around to see how they can deal with this matter. If these are personal infractions of the law, then the law should take its course. But whatever it is, there has to be police, military, and civilian cordiality in order to have the peace of mind to go about our normal duties. And so this is not the kind of story you want to hear in respect of our uniformed men who have been very, very professional over the years. Across the world, our military and the police service are highly respected because of the kind of conduct they've shown in international peacekeeping and dealing with trouble sports. And so we don't want that to be marred by a few bad knots within the service.
Well, I think Roland, my honorable colleague, has nailed it. Why should they be fighting? I mean, these are supposed to be people who are disciplined, right? And so if there's misunderstanding, I think there should be a way to deal with it. We don't want to be hearing that people that are supposed to protect us, you know, in every aspect of our lives, national security, are not supposed to fight like this. So I supported everything that he said, that they should have a way to talk about this. They should respect the rules of the game. But of course, they also have to remember that we live in a country where there are laws. So they cannot just flout the laws and take power into their hand and begin to beat each other on the streets. So if you're beating each other like that, what do you expect us? How do you expect us to feel secured as citizens? People going about their business, if you see the police and the military fighting, what is our future when it comes to security? So I think the leadership should take it up as quick as possible and allow the law to take its course, so that at the end of the day there's peace. This should not happen again. I understand it has been happening time and again. I think there has to be a final solution that is going to try to prevent this situation from happening. Because from point to point, I mean, time to time, they collaborate to deal with national issues, security issues. So why should they be fighting? We shouldn't allow that to continue. So I think they should find a way to stop it.
Okay, so we have to move on the subject, but this has been dominating the news, I believe, over the last, if not 5-6 days. It's about a deal to make sure that we have seamless transactions between operators of mobile money, and that will be the mobile operators, and also that will have a certain linkage with the various financial institutions we have in our country. The Vice President of the Republic inaugurated or adored this whole initiative, ultimately made a speech or a comment on it, that this will be adored, and subsequently government had taken the decision to let GIPS, which is a subsidiary of the Bank of Ghana, undertake this whole system that will enable us to reduce cost. And we know that this transaction was supposed to, or this initiative was supposed to have been undertaken by a company that had been given the valid contract, etc., to do this. But subsequently, we've had the news already on the front page of Daily Dispatch. We're told Symptom, which is the company, has already sued government in the UK for judgment debt. But the Vice President also insists that the deal is justified, and it's also on page 3. And he was speaking at the launch of Pay Systems Company Limited in Accra, and he says our company, one company bid 40 million Ghana cedis, another company for the same scope of work bid 5 million Ghana cedis, a third company for the same scope of work bid 4.6 billion Ghana cedis. And guess who won 4.6 billion? What are we trying to provide? And we have been able to do that for $4.5 million, and we have become the leading country in interoperability. But his comments are following all the things that had been said. Now, let me take your initial observation on all that has transpired, if you've been following.
Well, I think what the Vice President is saying is something that we all should look at. You know, the fact that we've saved Ghana money. Remember, when the President was being sworn in on what do you call it, January 7th, 2017, one of the things that he said was that he was going to protect the national pairs, right? So if you look at how, based on the facts that you've just provided, how come the company that bid that for the contract for 4.6 billion, if you convert it into the US dollars, about 1.2 billion US, was awarded the contract based on the information that we have? What was the basis? And now, remember when the Vice President spoke at the lunch, and he said that he doesn't understand we are saving Ghana money. It's just basically consistent with what the President was talking about when he was swearing in. Now our friends, I mean the former deputy...
yeah, we've had a former deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Siama,
saying
come to clarify issues.
Yes, saying that, that's what the Vice President got back, saying that what the Vice President was saying is false, right? The fact that there are differences in scope. But the issue is that at the end of the day, the deliverable is the same. It's the fact that these mobile companies can transact businesses. We can have what they call ACH, the banks interfacing with the telcos and all that. A common platform where we can make payments to facilitate business, and of course to also be able to achieve cashless economy if you want to, to facilitate all this commerce. So when he came back and said that the scopes are different, I mean the scope of the project, the one that has been done versus the one that was proposed for 4.6 billion are different. The Vice President has to come back and say it's the same scope. So if you even don't believe what the Vice President was saying, the issue is that we've been able to do it for less than what the smallest bidder offered. It was 5 million Ghana cedis, 40 million Ghana cedis, and 4.6 million Ghana cedis. Billion Ghana cedis. Billion Ghana cedis. Eventually, we're able to do it under 5 million, lower than the smallest bidder, which means that one of the vendors that bid for the contract could have done it for less. How come it wasn't given? Even if we think it was just a project cost, whatever it is, how come it wasn't given to even the one that could have done it for 5 or even 40 million? Right? So that's what is the whole point of the matter. Government, once again, is protecting the national purse. That's exactly what the issue is. And so our friends, under their watch, I mean, this is not the first time, under their watch, they were going to sell this for close to about, 5 billion Ghana cedis. And that's too much. And that's basically what the point he was trying to make. Not to try to insult anybody, but just try to tell the facts as they are. The project has been done for less. We've gotten what we're looking for, regardless of who's scope what. The deliverable remains the same. They are now able to transact businesses on the platform, exchange, and mobile. Telco companies can do it. ACH is still going to happen and all that. For less, Ghana, we are lucky that we have a good government. Basically, that's the point he's making. And that is what people don't understand and are arguing. So, I think everybody's entitled.
Well, Mr. Adongo, is that really the thrust of the matter? Yeah. Because if you do the analysis, it looks as if the Symptom seem to be replying back to government and saying that was not what we agreed on. As far as we're concerned, the scope of the project looks different. It seems different, and will be different ultimately at the end of the day after years of implementation. If you compare it to what has been done now.
Okay. Good morning to you and to my good friend, to your cherished viewers. You see, Dr. Bawumia is making us have a conversation around what do you call it? Facts that don't represent the facts. Which are that Dr. Bawumia is saying it costs the state. It will have cost the state 4.6 billion to deliver a project.
It's a Ghanaians.
Yes. If it was so, then we'll have a conversation.
But that is not the case.
But that is not the case.
So then what is the case?
So just take your time. I'll take you through that. This is a build, operate, and transfer.
Definitely.
Okay. So a build, operate, and transfer contract in which the state was not going to spend a penny on. In fact, the only amount of money that would have been spent by the Bank of Ghana was 300,000 Ghana cedis for their own internal monitoring and supervision of the system. So SIPTIN was to develop an architecture and the infrastructure that will allow interoperability. That is one. SIPTIN was to incur the operational costs of running the project for the next 20 years. And as a result of incurring the operational costs for the next 20 years, the appraisal of the project was to the extent that by 20 years, it will be enough to now hand over that facility to the government of Ghana or to Bank of Ghana for free. In any project appraisal, and I want people to take note of it, in any project appraisal, you will do your flows. You will do what you call your cash flows. Your total revenues that will accrue to the project every year for the next 20 years at a service charge of 1.5%. And that service charge, the annual revenues for the next 20 years in nominal value is 4.6 billion. So that 4.6 billion suddenly becomes the cost of the contract. It is never done anywhere. So you do your cash flows for every year at a charge of 1.5% to indicate your revenue flows. And then you indicate your initial capital expenditure of developing the software, in which case the government of Ghana has spent $4.6 million as the initial capex, the initial capital cost. The next thing is that you have operational costs for the next 20 years to deliver the service. When you net it off, you get what we call your net cash flows. Then you do what we call time value analysis to determine the present value of the project in order to determine viability. I hope you get the point.
I get you.
Then somebody says, your cash flows that amount to 4.6 is the cost of the project. And we are having a conversation around this ignorant analysis. That is the problem. So, my man is a certified accountant. How can you run a build, operate, and transfer project for 20 years without appraisal? And any appraiser will do your cash flow. So you just, okay, so the government of Ghana has incurred 4.6. Who is not going to incur the operational cost for the next 20 years? Has he told us the cost? Has he told us the cost of the project management? Has he told us the cost of the annual renewals of the facility? Has he told us who is going to pay the employees at Gibbs who will be running the project? Has he told you the cost of the vehicles and infrastructure that you will be running for the next couple of years? Has he told you the allowances people are going to receive?
And for you, that is the total cost of the project.
Exactly. Over the next 20,
overheads,
because we were
well
not going to be paying for that. Ghana was not going to pay for that because SIPTIN was going to run it as a turnkey project where it will be taking its revenue, taking its initial capital costs, and running the operational costs for the next 20 years to be able to arrive at viability, recover their money, and hand over a free project to us. And you say that the cash flows of 4.6 billion is the cost of the project. My good friend, this is an ignorant financial analysis. And we are being compelled not to be questioning the kind of model that he's using, but we are questioning whether or not some costs were saved. What costs were saved? As we speak, do you know the total cost of this project for the next 20 years?
No, we only know that the initial financial outlay is 4.6.
That is the capex, the initial capex.
to run the project, now that you've taken it from sifting, which was going to incur the cost to run the platform, any reasonable comparison of numbers would have also done an appraisal of this project for the next 20 years, given the flows and the expenditure flows and the initial capex, and doing a present value analysis to compare that to that of what was going to happen. Then we can have a conversation as to who is being efficient.
Roland.
Let me, I wasn't interfering.
No,
I wasn't interfering.
You have had enough time.
I wasn't interfering when he was talking. I don't know why he also interfered. You see, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has consistently displayed this disingenuous analysis of
and how is that disingenuity?
Because you can't pick cash flows and say that is the cost of a project. You can't pick your initial capex and not tell us your operational cost for 20 years and you say you have saved us money. It's never done. And so that is the first point I want to make, that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia should stop demonstrating this kind of financial ignorance. It cannot happen that in any project appraisal, you take the cash flows for the next 20 years that somebody has presented. The person is telling you that you are not going to spend a penny. He should tell me which state was going to spend money to roll out that project at 4.6 billion. So the 4.6 billion is the service charge of 1.5%. Do you know now? The service charge is 2.5%. You and I are going to pay more than you would have paid under sifting. But is not telling you that he has increased the service charge from 1.5 to 2.5 in order to make the project viable.
At the end of the day, it goes to Gibbs.
It goes to the people of Ghana are paying.
Well, Gibbs a subsidiary of the government of Ghana.
So if you are not saying
it's a subsidiary of the Bank of Ghana.
Yes, but I'm saying that
Thank
if
you.
Bank of Ghana, so the people of Ghana should, if they want the people of Ghana to pay 1% more to fund Gibbs, they should say so. Because if a service can be delivered at 1.5 and you are not delivering at 2.5, it means that for that project to be viable, there is something wrong with the cost elements in order for it to be viable at 2.5 and not 1.5. So Bank of Ghana, and you see, I am speaking on this matter because you are trying to say that it is the government of Ghana under the NDC. The government of Ghana under the NDC didn't undertake a project to do an interoperability. That must be made very clear to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. The NDC government did not undertake a contract to pursue interoperability. 4.6 billion, the Bank of Ghana doesn't have resources to do a 4.6 billion project anywhere. And I put it to Dr. Bawumia how Bank of Ghana can raise 4.6 billion to run an interoperability without a government approval. And if Dr. Bawumia, sitting there, has seen any cabinet approval of 4.6 billion, he should put it out for the people of Ghana to know.
Okay.
Let me finish. The NDC government, through cabinet, never had a proposal either at a ministerial or a cabinet level to approve a 4.6 billion project. The Attorney General never reviewed and gave his opinion on a 4.6 billion project. And as a matter of fact, Bank of Ghana as an individual institutional body does not have 4.6 billion to operate an interoperability project. So quite clearly, the effort to link the NDC to this is disingenuous because government, the executive, has not done anything in terms of interoperability. It is a Bank of Ghana project, and the Bank of Ghana project cannot cost 4.6 billion when it cannot raise the funding to do it. And so that is the point I'm trying to. And so to the extent that I speak on it is because I'm speaking from the point of view that my government never did that. And so this is a Bank of Ghana activity. Why must the executive be speaking for Bank of Ghana? Let Bank of Ghana put out and publish the full details
of the
appraisal of the two, taking into account the full capex and operational expenditure flows for 20 years, and the full revenue flows or cash flows for 20 years. And let's see whether we will not see more than 4.6 billion at the end of the cash flow. It will be more than 4.6
for
billion
the current
at 2.5. It will be more than that. Okay. It will be close to double. So this disingenuous analysis of Dr. Bawumia's consistent ignorance of finance cannot be allowed to continue. He must sit up and read if he has forgotten what he learned under finance. Because we can't allow this kind of disingenuous analysis to continue.
But if I take a cue from what he's saying, I know the Bank of Ghana, somehow also reports to the finance minister.
Yes, that's correct.
So the finance minister and any executive administration of the Republic of Ghana should be in the know of
some of these
of an outlay of an interoperability system
exactly.
by its central bank.
That's correct. I mean, that's correct.
So I'm a bit puzzled by this submission.
Some of the words that my friend has used are too heavy.
Like what?
And
what word?
I'm coming because, I mean, how can you say the Bank of Ghana is ignorant of finance?
Vice President.
The Vice President.
That's what I've said.
You can, I mean, come on.
I can debate many days on this.
No, we can debate on this issue.
It's ignorant.
The bottom line.
I'll clarify why it's ignorant. So if you know why, tell me why.
The bottom line.
He didn't say that
the bottom line is
the
that
Vice President is ignorant.
It's
It says on this
ignorant analysis of finance.
It says on this issue.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
On this issue, yes.
We know that every time the Vice President speaks, our friends on the other side, they are basically dying. Every time he speaks, they are uncomfortable.
Well, he says the Vice President is being disingenuous.
No, he's not being. So
he's doing politics.
It is not true. It is not true. The bottom line is that if you look at the numbers that he was putting out there, right? You are telling us that it was going to cost Ghana nothing. Are you sure anybody is going to put up money to develop a payment platform without we paying anything? That is not true. That is false. The investors that were going to do build, operate, own, and transfer, they were in for some margin. So to say it is going to cost Ghana nothing is completely false.
No,
propaganda.
He means the institution of state.
No. What do you mean? Institution of state. If you pay, or the government pays, or government Bank of Ghana pays, we are paying. The good thing is that we know there's some number that adds up to what? 4.6 billion.
But that's not enough.
No, I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
I agree. No, let's be real.
That is a cash flow.
No.
That is a cash flow.
Yes.
All right.
That
was the money that was going to go to the company that was going to do this, right? Regardless of how you look at it, that is their percentage. So it could be the cash flow, of course. How are you going to be able to generate revenue without incurring some cost? So definitely there will be some cost, but that was the portion of the cash flow that was going to be given to that build, operate, and transfer vendor. 1.5% going to them. What was their cost? Do we know? To be honest with you, as we sit here, so I can agree with him that maybe we should get more facts, look at process, apple to apple, and look at the scope to scope, look at the itemized cost to itemized cost, and do the net present value analysis. I agree. That is what we need. But what the Vice President was talking about was the fact that at the end of the day, this company, certain company, was going to get 1.5%, which amounts to 4.6 billion. I'd rather pay that to the government of Ghana, KIPS, POG, to help the government develop the country, than to pay to some company sitting somewhere in the UK.
But that's not what the Vice President meant.
What he meant?
The Vice President meant that the past government, through the Bank of Ghana, tried to swindle Ghanaians. I mean, just in some words.
It is your interpretation.
The point, in swelling or in
Roland,
in swelling up a contract.
The point the Vice President...
That ideally, by the time it ran its course, should not cost the said amount.
Okay.
Which was $1.1 billion US.
Roland.
Which has been translated in current Ghana US dollar rate to be 4.6 billion.
Yes.
So let's get the understanding right.
But the bottom line is that.
But let me ask you this. Is it not curious that for all the outlay of 4.6 million or 4.5 million US dollars, as the Vice President indicates,
yes,
we still don't know what the numbers are for the current run.
We still even don't know how much. Agree. We still don't even know how much it was going to cost that company to develop the property. I mean, the certain company. We don't even know that yet. Huh?
But does it matter?
No, it matters because what he was talking about is
they went through tender.
What he was talking about. What he was talking about.
There's been feasibility.
Hold on.
There's been a report.
Hold on. What he was talking about is net present value. How can you determine that number without knowing? No, because what was
nominal values.
No,
I beg you.
Okay.
You now have to do an analysis.
No, I agree. I agree with you. So what I was talking about is that we need to know the revenue flows, and we need to know the cost flows to maintain the CapEx and all those operating expenses to be able to come up to know whether this project is viable or not. There's more information we need to know. How much was it going to cost that company to develop, to generate that 4.6 billion? That's more information we need to get. So I can understand him from some point of view, but what the vice president was talking about, for me, was in context. For me.
In which context?
In the context that it will have cost Ghana
far less.
This much money, 4.6 billion, to do it under the previous government. Regardless of how he determines Bank of Ghana's position, whether they're independent institution or whatever it is, that's not the issue. The issue is that Bank of Ghana, at some point in time, was going to allow this to go on at a time when the NDC government was in power. That you can deny. 2016, you were watching over the nation's space. That's the point he was making out of this. In terms of doing the analysis and even looking at whether or not there will be, what do you call it, a judgment debt and all those things. Let me tell you, these are people who know what they are doing. By the way, we don't want to politicize this too much. This is not...
Excuse me, what did you say? You said which people?
And our
people.
Yes.
The Ghana people.
We know what we are doing. I mean,
but we have precedent. Our Ghana people knew what they were doing. But over the last decade and a half, we're talking the last 15 years,
yes,
we've abrogated contracts by which, if you look at the precedents from the law courts, have given us all indications that we have paid huge judgment debts which could have been used otherwise to develop other parts.
When they sit you in the driving seat.
Which of the driving seat here?
Whatever.
Where?
Driving seat to make a decision of this nature. You look at the pros and cons, including potential liability, legal liability, which is judgment debt, before you pull that gun.
So you're saying that all these have been...
All these things have been done. By the way, listen, our friend should not go there. When it comes to... Because the first thing you need to consider is that we don't really understand why Sipton was selected when there were two other vendors that were quoting less.
But it is not untoward.
Hold on.
It's not against the procurement laws of our...
We are not saying it's against.
Indeed, if you look at best practices across the world, and you have practiced in the United States of America, are you saying, I'm asking you a question, are you saying if there are valid invitations to tender, and there are, there's an undertaking of a listing, and then we have listed companies, 3 of them, should we always choose the lowest bidder?
Nope.
Should we all choose the one with the overage?
The lowest bidder
no, excuse me, should we always choose the one with the overage? No.
Okay.
The highest? No.
There are other factors when it comes to choosing, selecting.
So you're not saying that you're not saying that the choosing of symptom is untoward.
No, but
it's against any law.
We need to understand.
It's against any practice or ethic. Is that not? That's not what you're saying.
Well, listen to me. When it comes to IT, okay, depending on who is looking at it, certain things that are even terminologies can be built to you, depending on who is giving you scope. I have been involved in projects where somebody quoted $1 million to get it done. And ultimately, we ended up doing it for less than 60,000 using cloud computing. It happens. It depends on how much you know on those. So we don't know.
But there's a country.
That is one.
So you can say, where you want to keep your data, you make all those considerations. So there are lots of processes and things involved as far as technology is concerned.
Roland, so we need more information to do the comms properly. Both the financial numbers.
Do you know which company is helping Gibbs to undertake this?
I don't know which company. At this point in time, I don't know. But I've been involved with Gibbs a little bit. I know I've used the system some time. And
no,
I know
you're not saying that it's only Gibbs that's implemented this, because they could have third parties also undertaking certain activities. And in the world of
ultimately,
IT,
you can do subcontracting.
It's not new at all.
It's not new at all.
That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, I agree. But we are talking about NDC. And what do we know NDC for? What happened with the bus branding? Something that could have been painted for only about 500 Ghana cedis were charged one bus, 31,000. That is what we are talking about.
So you're saying what? They have precedent.
There's this saying.
You're saying they have precedent.
So
you're worried.
So when we are talking, we are not just talking baselessly. We are talking about a president that is known for create, loot, and share. That is what you're talking about. I don't want that to go to that point.
But that's politics.
Because
that's for the campaign
platform. If you tell me, listen to me.
No, we're looking at the contract.
No.
A contract
let me make my point.
A valid contract has
Let me make my point. I agree with you. I wanted to make sure that those who are viewing us today could get educated by what we look at. But the point is that we are talking about a government that is full of mismanagement, that is known for mismanagement. A government that could put up a project in Commander, build a factory without source of raw material.
No, please. That's
Oh,
simplifying
Master,
the issue.
I am trying to say that underscores the judgment. What judgment call was anybody going to make to commit Ghana for 4.6 billion without consulting the government? Yes, Bank of Ghana is independent. But to that tune, to that man, are you telling me the president of the country will allow Bank of Ghana to just go and engage in a contract that costs that much money? How much? What percentage of our GDP? You are saying we are not going to pay anything. You are kidding me. Build, operate, and transfer. Every investor will have their hurdle rate. They have their expectation. How much they expect to get. So it was going to cost Ghana something. I'm saying I would rather pay 2.5% to the extent that it goes to government, we get money to build our country beyond aid, than to pay something that somebody takes advantage of for 20, 25 years. So it's a judgment call. Ghanaians decided against NDC, regardless of all the things they had in their green book. They've given the mandate to the president. The president, I know, is making the right judgment for the country. Whether in consultation with Bank of Ghana or whatever it is, we are making Ghana work again. So that is the potential savings. So many. Roland, if you break this down, we are talking about somewhat 511,000 Ghana cedis a day.
But we've not been told how much we'll be paying.
Well,
and what?
Let's come back and debate this.
Excuse me, sir.
I agree.
It's a certified accountant, and what the accruals will be. What the accruals will be at the end of the same corresponding years of some 2 or 2.5.
Let's get more facts and come back. I can understand, but I don't
Why
want
is the vice president not giving us more facts, and we have to come?
Oh, but of course, this was a launch of the project, and he had so much time to talk about.
Okay.
And he's telling you it was going to cost us this much.
Please, just your last submissions.
No, he said so much, but I'm still struggling to understand how.
No, he's made important calls. Yeah. He said there's been precedent in the last administration.
I don't want to go there. You
see, which have given indications for
we have to be careful.
concern.
Listen to me. I don't want to go there.
Please.
We are dealing
You're only going to where it suits you.
We are dealing with a technical matter on the table. The technical matter is that if you decide that somebody should come and build, operate, and transfer a 6-lane Accra-Kumasi road, he will definitely have a rate of return.
But don't say it doesn't cost the country anything.
Can I finish?
Don't say it doesn't cost us anything.
Can I finish?
He's talking about outlay.
So the person decides that when you finish, I'll put my toe boots on this road. My toes over the next
to recover
my money and make my return. Because you don't have the money to do it and spend the money to operate it. So when I do my cash flows, my inflows for the next 20 years, I will generate from toes 4.6 billion. And you said that 4.6 billion is the cost of the project. And when we want to say this is an ignorant financial analysis, you say we shouldn't say this.
Potential loss to the country.
That is one.
Potential loss to the country.
But you have forgotten that I have to pay people to sit in the booth.
Nobody said that.
You have forgotten that I will be printing the tickets. You have forgotten that I will be buying equipment and servicing the equipment. You have forgotten that I will need supervisors to go around and check.
All those things are going to be done for less.
So you decide, if you put together all my costs, and you net my revenues from my costs, and you do a proper appraisal based on net present values, at what point will this project meet the project objective of both of us? That is how you undertake a project. In any case, who compares nominal values for 20 years with current values? Dr. Mahmoud Baomi, I want to say, you say we shouldn't say it. A figure in 20 years will be worth the same amount today.
Which will be influenced by inflation,
interest rates, and all of that.
So that's your point.
And normal financial analysts of the right caliber will not pick nominal values for 20 years and compare with one-off payment.
Nobody will do that.
Because
nobody will do that. I mean, come on. No.
No, let me finish.
It's your interpretation.
Let me finish.
But it's in dollars. So at least we
No,
can...
he said
we can
4.6
assume.
billion
So we can
Ghana.
assume 1.1 billion.
No, whatever. He is comparing.
So whether
he is
Ghana
that is more stable.
No, let me finish.
Whether Ghana City will be... Whether Ghana City will be 5 Ghana
The
cities...
man, Dr. Baumia, says that 4.6 every year, 4.6. You don't even need to do a time value analysis. You just pick the nominal value after you have summed them. And then you compare, and that is even cash flow. They are not cost. They are cash flow. He's not even picking the costs. He's picking the cash flow. And the cash inflows and comparing it with a capital cost of deploying. And that capital cost of $4.5 million, if you just put it into a bank account, and it is earning you 5% interest rates, will it be worth 4.5 in 20 years?
You don't think they will do that basic analysis?
Clearly, this is not a finance person.
They will do that basic analysis.
You see, we are allowing him to get away with murder of finance.
No.
And we keep coming here to discuss this man as if this man has put forward any intellectual thing to discuss.
Roland.
It's a waste of our time.
Roland,
because
my
what
friend
Baumia has done, his colleagues in academia are laughing at him because that is not project appraisal. A project appraisal properly is to compare apples to apples. Do your flows plus your capex. Do the other flows plus your capex. Do a net present value analysis that bring all values to present value and compare and make a decision. You pick capital costs of rolling out $4.5 million. And then you just pick the cash flows of another person.
So all you're saying is that the media, we have work to do. We have to go and ask.
Go and ask Dr. Mahmoud Baumia where he learned that kind of analysis.
Roland,
okay.
if my friend...
I'm worried for students of finance when they listen to this. Because it just doesn't make sense.
Listen to me. If my friend Honorable
I'm struggling to understand why my colleague certified accountant is trying to defend this.
Oh, let me make a point.
What are you trying to defend?
Let me make a point. I'm not trying to. Let me make a point. If my friend Honorable Adongo will sit here and try to make everybody believe that we in the NPP will not do this kind of basic finance analysis, then everybody should be left.
So throw out your numbers.
We don't do this.
You should have thrown out your
we
numbers.
will do the internal rate of returns and all.
Throw out your numbers. Where are the numbers?
Please.
Throw out.
So
are you comparing capex with cash flow?
Don't say that.
Throw out your numbers.
There are instances where...
I don't see why we're having a debate on this matter.
There are instances where...
Elsewhere, this man will be ignored.
Please. There are instances where if you have a project for someone to do, like to build your house and get it mortgaged, or to buy the house or rent it, you do this kind of analysis. He was talking about opportunity cost of that $4.5 million.
I didn't mention opportunity cost in any of my debate submissions.
Hold on.
I never did.
What he's saying is that if you take that if you take that 4.5 million and put it in the bank,
you are looking for the future value. Because he's dealing with future value. So take that one to the future and see whether it will be 4.5.
Let me make a point.
You get it
right, and you put it in at 5% and see how it's going to be
for 20 years.
The point I'm making is that there are two issues. The government thinks this is the best way to go. Let's do it ourselves.
So we're ready for judgment, even if it comes.
Oh, I believe that before they took that decision,
they did
that 1%. Only God knows where that 1% is going.
No.
Dr. Babia should come and be explaining to us why it moved from 1.5 to 2.5. That 1% is the biggest loot and share. And you are rather talking about when you do the numbers of the 2.5, you will be getting over 60 billion.
But the point I'm making is that
there are basic questions I want to ask.
These are basic financial analysis that anybody will do.
He hasn't done it.
He has done it.
Dr. Babia,
the decision will be made. And I think that it was made based on the right analysis.
You guys know MTN Heroes of Change.
If you write that exam, you get zero.
You know MTN Heroes of Change?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we'll have tickets there, so we'll be opening the phone lines.
Are we getting some for free to go?
No, they're only 4. So
if
for our
viewers. If I'm going to write this type of exam, he'll get zero.
No. Please, we can invite you for MTN Heroes of Change. So
this is not Adongo economics.
But that'll be it. You do good for your constituents. I saw you inaugurating. You were doing extra classes.
Yes.
We should have nominated you. So take this.
Thank you.
I have 3 more.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have 3 more. All right, but talking about the economy, etc. Yes, we're told that there's a projected GDP of 7% on the back of rising cocoa prices and peaking oil production from our wells. So that looks good.
This is basically recovering from well volatility. It is not a reflection of the hard work we are doing on the ground. You see, if you had said that we are going to grow because of increased cocoa production coupled with increased prices, then the hard work is showing. But if I stay at the same level and price quadruple, I see an improvement in my economy because prices are gone up. I don't control.
You are saying that's basic.
I don't see, that is our major volatility over the years. In some instances when prices come down, okay, then we'll begin to suffer. When prices go up, and that is not reflective, it's not reflective of the true fundamentals of the economy. Oil production. If oil production increase, how many jobs does it create? We want job creating growth. If oil production has increased, as it increased in 2017, okay, clearly that is not what put food on our table. What I wanted to hear is that our economy, and you see, if you say hit 7%, it suggests that if you look at the oil growth that engineered the 2017 growth, it has declined. That's what it simply means. And you know why it has declined? Even though the volumes have gone up, we came from a lower volume in 2016 to a higher volume in 2017. But the increase in volume in 2018 cannot match the increase in volumes in 2017. And that is why there's a decline. So even though we are seeing a growth compared to the way we grew last year with the oil, this is a decline in the growth of the economy. That is what it is. And I'm saying that I would have wished to hear that there is going to, the economy hit 7% because the service sector would recover from its performance of 4.3 instead of 5.7 in 2016. It is recovering to 5.7 at least of the 2016 levels. Then we know that that sector, which
but
is...
Mr. Dongo, ultimately there will be a trickle-down effect.
Thank you.
Please, listen, trickle-down effect like what? If it is a trickle-down effect, you will see...
There will be.
No, you will see the multiplier effect. And
You will see.
You see, how are you going to see? I'm saying that the numbers are showing a decline. Or you haven't seen, if you move from 8 to 7, can't you see a decline? So if the multiplier effect is what we are looking at, then how come it's a decline? Because it means that the other sectors are not compensating for the loss in growth in the oil sector. That is the point I am making. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? So,
no, I get your point
validly.
validly.
Simply put, if the service sector was rebounding, okay, where the hotels are now improving from the poor performance of 2017, it would augment the price increases that we are seeing from the cocoa. If industrial sector, and here industrial sector includes oil. If you take away oil, and you take away mining, and you look at the industrial sector as we define as manufacturing, and you see that it is going to improve from 3% of 2017 to about 7-8%.
And that's been a concern in your commentary over the last year.
Exactly. Then I would have said that these are job creating opportunities. These are growth that are engineered by Ghanaians. And so you would have seen that there's an improvement because now we don't have Dumso. So you expect the impact to be felt in the manufacturing sector that suffered. You expect that impact to be felt in the service sector that suffered from Dumso. So if we are not seeing this, but what we are seeing is oil and cocoa. Let me ask a very basic question. The Jubilee partners, they are businessmen. In fact, if they put you there as the president, they put Adjoa Menu as president, they will still produce their oil. You get the point? Because they must make their money back. They've invested over 14 billion into that business. So these are people who will still generate the output in the oil sector anyway, without any government interference, irrespective of who sits there as the president. So I am saying that I would have wished that this growth is coming from one district, one factory. Okay, then I'm happy that some industrialization is bringing growth and creating job opportunities.
But ultimately, there will be growth in one district.
That's not what this is saying. You see,
we'll have returns.
This is not what
and ultimately, once the returns come in, they'll be pumped into.
No. The projection,
they'll be invested into one district.
This projection includes all that projection.
You know,
it includes all those projections.
I was expecting that my honorable friend
oil is saving them all the time.
Will be a little honorable.
No, but what he's saying is not far. We have to be true.
That is
over the last. Is it 3 to 4 years?
And it's still saving us.
Let's make it simple.
Is oil not part of the GDP? You actually, basically nail his point down by telling him that Don't we have?
Was that what I did?
Yes. I mean, you
thought I was just
basically destroy his argument. No. Because the question is that the way he's doing it, just because we are having good news under the presidency of Akufo-Addo, everything Adongo wants to make it negative.
No, but that's just simplifying the issue.
Listen to me.
My humble submission.
I am coming.
That's just simplifying the issue.
No, I'm coming. I'm going to explain your point. The GDP is growing, regardless of the source, the cause. If you get all this excess money from increasing price of cocoa, and you manage it well, you put it in one district, one factory, you create NAPCO that make these young people productive. Listen, you do that. You take the money and invest it in productive sectors, fix the road, do what you have to do. You are not going to sit here and tell me to believe that the increase in the cash flow or in the increase in GDP is not going to create any job. That is basically looking at it from a narrow point of view. Or maybe my friend is trying to do what they call hypocritical analysis.
No.
I said maybe. That's why I use my word. Because listen to me. Because regardless of how you look at this, it is positive. It is good news. Okay. It gives us some leverage, some liquidity to be able to manage what we have to do.
If you look at the various
if you don't know what you're going to do with that money, that increase in output.
No, please. Yeah,
certified. You gave me too much. No,
it's CPA, right?
No, he's also CPA. He's also. He's also CPA.
No. Please, let's listen. No. Please. We have to wrap up. But if you look at the various indicators,
yes.
We come to a head on 7% because we have various subsectors that give us all the indications.
Yes.
And we have to be real. Since we discovered oil,
yes,
we've had good inflows into the economy. But if you want to speak practically or do a practical interpretations of what those inflows have been, they have not trickled down, as I use my own phrase, to, for example, creating enough jobs, making sure prices and goods and services are affordable to the barest minimum for low-income earners, etc. It hasn't also increased the rate at which the manufacturing sector is increasing, and that's true. But there's a good reason for it. We have good investment coming in, but at the end of the day, the numbers of people and the sectors that they affect are low. And that has been a concern, not of only Chris Adongo, but even for those who are in academia at the universities, expressing this. Even when you were in opposition, you express the same thing. So we have to be realistic when we're doing the interpretations. No, I mean, this one, we're not doing politics.
No, the point I'm making is that, just a moment.
To clarify something,
hold on.
He's getting, he knows what he's talking about.
Let me just make a quick point.
Yes, sir.
You are talking about this. I can assure you it depends on who is in the driving seat and what kind of choices they are making for the country, right? So don't make it seem like we have not benefited from the oil. It depends on who is in the driving seat. When you have the wrong person in the driving seat, you can expect that no matter how much money
and now we have the right person.
Can I assure you?
This one, if I can help you.
No.
If I can help you.
The president we have now, I call him God's gift. Nyameche. I'm telling you.
No, Roland, if I can help you. This 7% is not entirely oil and cocoa prices.
No, I know.
This is based on your medium-term policy. And your medium-term policy
which is working.
Which is medium-term policy has indicated all the areas you want to invest your money. And they are saying, if you want to go by that policy and your budget, these revenues, when you put them into all the areas that you are talking about, will cumulatively create a growth of 7%. So it is about taking advantage of the Onyamiche now or Tom. What the Onyamiche says he will do with the money. Okay. It will lead to 7%.
Chris Adongo.
I don't see why.
Roland, 7% is higher than 3.7%. When they gave it to us.
But
7% is higher than 3.7% when they gave it to us.
Give us the same price growth and you see where we will be.
Same price growth now better.
Well, thanks for joining me. And also I've had in the studio Daniel Ochem Abuaje. He's a member of parliament for Bantama. All of them are certified accountants. So it's good. It's good to have great debate here this morning. I've enjoyed the conversation, the two of you. I wish you well in that legal tussle you're having with your chairman Wontumi.
You just have to respect the law, that's all.
Will you be going? I would want to give you a ticket. MTN Heroes of Change. You know
When
what's
is
about?
that?
I'm giving that to somebody.
This
Saturday.
Yeah, I believe.
I'm unlikely to be around, so I'll be waiting.
You are likely to be around. Okay. But we'll be opening the phone lines very soon. But that'll still be on the show. It's the MTN Heroes of Change. It's taking place at the Accra International Conference Center on the 18th of May, 2018. The time is 6:30 p.m. It's about people who have been nominated doing good. Yes. I know Bantama constituency.
I'm not here, but
MP does a lot of work. Last time he organized, or always does, I believe, I'm told, extra classes for those who are or have sat in the BEC as well as the WASI. So that's a good one too. We should have nominated you, but you're a big man, so that's okay.